All right, we're gonna check out the Plucky Squire review. It's on IGN. This game did seem interesting to me, if I can speak properly. So we're gonna check out the review and see what they have to say, and check out the gameplay ourselves and whatnot. It's kind of loud a little bit. Don't do that.
As a lifelong Zelda fan, I'm always hesitant when other developers
they love using Zelda on this platform, but that's okay. I love Zelda. I'm a huge Zelda fan myself, so let's see if this has anything to do with Zelda this time around.
Clearly inspired by Nintendo's acclaimed action-adventure series.
Right.
I find that the puzzle design never quite reaches Zelda's incredibly lofty bar.
Oh, that's pretty
I'm
cool.
usually left wishing I was just playing Ocarina of Time or A Link Between Worlds instead. But the Plucky Squire breaks that trend with a combination of clever brain teasers, simple but effective swordplay, and a courageous silent protagonist that would feel right at home.
Waldo. Kind of looks like Waldo.
Back by an overly wordy script and some serious pacing issues in its final act, but this debut game from developer All Possible Futures is still a journey worth taking.
All Possible Futures, that's the name of that? Okay. It kind of reminds me of that one game with the sword.
Elevator pitch is brilliant. You play as Jot, the hero of a children's book who learns early on.
What game is that, Marz, huh? With the sword?
Just the hero of a children's book. This leads to a surprisingly meta story where Jot leaps between the 2D pages of his picture book and the 3D real world around it.
Oh!
Which is represented by the childhood bedroom of a Plucky Squire superfan named Sam, who collects.
The aesthetic is pretty cool. I do like this. If you're hopping between the 2D and 3D world, that's actually pretty dope.
All of Jot's stories and merchandise. That unique premise paves the way for some inspired puzzle design. While within the story's beautifully animated depictions of beaches, villages, and mountaintops, Jot can manipulate the book's text to alter his reality and get past obstacles. I needed to get past this closed gate, so I headed over here to pluck the word open from another sentence in the book. When I dropped it in the text in front of the gate, it swung open for me.
Oh,
it plays out like
okay. Like, things like this are actually like unique and creative and actually pretty cool, man. A
substantially lighter version of Baba Is You.
I never played Baba Is You. Never, so I don't know what that is.
Of nouns and adjectives to see how the world reacts. Like doing this to a tiny frog just to see what would happen.
Make a huge frog.
Not the most flexible system. Each scenario with this concept only includes a handful of eligible words.
I would assume.
But it's still a really impressive mechanic that is used in several smart ways throughout the adventure. Through the power of language, I turned this wooden block into a metal one so it could break through this wall, filled this drained moat with water, and a whole lot more.
This is actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I like this, man. An open book.
Wordplay is just one smart way the Plucky Squire takes advantage of its storybook setting. Jot can also pop out of the book and turn from an adorable hand-drawn 2D character into a fully 3D version of himself that's reminiscent of the toyetic look of the Link's Awakening remake and the upcoming Echoes of Wisdom.
Okay,
when outside of the book,
I see
Jot
that.
can play God and directly manipulate the world within, with powers like tilting the book on its side to slide blocks around, or even flipping back to an earlier page to grab a word or item that he needs on the current one. Backtracking through pages to find optional hidden collectibles also resulted in some.
I'm like, you guys, I don't even think you understand. This is actually like pretty, like, cute. Okay, it's kind of cool, man. I think this is actually pretty dope, man.
Aha moments, and I could see myself going back to snag the ones I missed. The book's myriad uses forced me to zoom out and think bigger about the tools at my disposal, and the Plucky Squire hits some awesome puzzle-solving highs within these segments.
I'm all for the puzzle solving.
The only issue is how many hints are constantly thrown at you. Before I was set loose on most puzzles, Jot's endearing companions Violet, Thrash, and Moonbeard have a whole conversation about what you need to do. This inclusion is even more confusing when you take into account the well-implemented optional hint system, where you can chat with this little guy who will tell you exactly what you need to do next.
Look, okay, I understand that game developers want their game to be played and not be hard, but please, I want this off. I want to be able to figure it out myself. That's the whole point about playing video games, is to figure things out and try to understand what the developers want me to do without them telling me what to do. Now, if there's a way to turn this off in the game, by all means, please.
That the developers lay out too much information through mandatory dialogue
get mad
rather
about
than
it.
leaving it to the hint system so experienced players can try to piece it all together without hand-holding. In fact, chattiness is a problem throughout the entirety of the Plucky Squire. Characters are always stopping to have lengthy conversations about what to do next. And while it's all well-written dialogue, I found myself wanting to mash through these extensive sequences to get back to the action. The incessant over-explanation of Jot's mission to take down the evil Humgrump is one way this story feels aimed squarely at a younger audience.
Gotcha.
The witty humor and lighthearted tone just barely save it from becoming a major drawback.
Understand, if it's for younger kids,
the
then
outside world goes well beyond the pages, as Jot explores Sam's bedroom to find new abilities to interact with his book. These exploration sections are a wonderful change of pace from the puzzling nature of the storybook, and Sam's bedroom is a delight to run around. Toys and Lego bricks are littered everywhere, and Jot platforms across playing cards and building blocks to find his next upgrade.
Nice. It looks really good.
Jot can hop in and out of sticky notes and children's drawings, which makes the whole thing feel like a creative take on A Link Between Worlds.
I was just about to say that. But I didn't want to say it because, you know, Zelda.
Emerging mechanic.
See, that's cool.
There are a few minor technical issues in the real world. I noticed some shadows flickering in and out, and I had one hard crash. But for the most part, it looked and ran great on PlayStation 5. Combat works the same whether Jot is in or out of the book. He can swing his sword, throw it at enemies like a boomerang, and make use of powerful jump attacks and spin attacks.
Nice.
These moves can all be upgraded at these shops that pop up across the land of Mojo, where you spend currency that's mostly found fittingly by cutting grass. The swordplay is simple, fun, and rarely challenging, but for a game mostly focused on puzzles, I don't mind that the fights are basic bouts to rip through on your way to the next big riddle.
Yeah. What the boss fight's looking like? Are you gonna show us a little bit of a boss fight?
The Plucky Squire is also continuously working to shake things up. There are plenty of 2D platforming segments within the book's pages, and sometimes the book turns vertically to give things a fresh perspective. But it really flexes its creative muscles within the minigame segments that crop up regularly throughout Jot's journey. There are homages to things like Punch-Out, rhythm games, shmups, and more that I won't spoil here. Whether you're uppercutting a honey badger or fighting off aliens while flying around inside a toy box, every minigame here is so charming and fun to play. And I loved seeing how the developers shook up the art style and character designs for each one.
Look at that bow.
With great pacing between the storybook, real world, and minigames for the first 5 hours of the roughly 8-hour campaign, it's jarring when the Plucky Squire completely loses its stride in the final act. First, Jot loses all his abilities, and you're forced to go through a very generic stealth section to recover all the powers you already spent the entire game gathering. It'd be like if Metroid ripped all of Samus's upgrades away moments before the final boss and forced you to gather the Morph Ball and Grapple Beam a second time.
Hell no.
What's worse, this section takes place in an entirely monochrome world, sucking all the joy and color out of Sam's bedroom and turning it into a dull trudge over tired ground. This section doesn't take all too long, but it's followed up by a final dungeon that is a repetitive march through samey rooms, along with a rhythm stealth minigame I had to repeat 3 separate times. Facing a final boss that also goes on a phase too long, I was ready to be done before the credits even started rolling. It's a shame because the Plucky Squire is so delightful for most of its runtime, but that last third unfortunately leaves behind a sour aftertaste.
Couldn't close on it, huh?
At its heights, the Plucky Squire is a beautiful Zelda-inspired adventure.
I'm gonna say they're gonna give it a 7. I'm calling it. They're giving it a 7.
With brilliant wordplay-packed puzzles. Jot's ability to manipulate his own storybook from both the outside and within result in clever dimension-hopping mechanics and solutions that make each problem a joy to unpack. While genuinely funny at times, its wordy script often gets in the way of the action and occasionally spoils a puzzle's solution before it even begins. It also drags in its drawn-out final act, as the adventure continues a couple hours after it's already used up all its best ideas. But prior to that late stumble, the Plucky Squire is full of surprises, breaking up its puzzles with cute minigame homages to classic video game genres and fun sections.
I could work at IGN if I wanted to, right?
Jot outside of the pages of his story. For more colorful, kid-friendly games, check out our reviews of Astrobot and Funko Fusion. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
The game looks cool. It doesn't look too bad. I don't know what's going on now. Maybe they're trying with this is gaming in general. Like a lot of these game devs are trying to get the younger generation into more gamings other than like Fortnite and Call of Duty and these type of games. Because with Astrobots is a phenomenal game. I haven't talked about it on this channel yet, but I will soon. Phenomenal game. You have Funko Fusions. I know that game, we'll talk about that in another video as well. But now games like this, they're trying to gear towards the younger generation and get them into gaming other than just Fortnite and have them brain rot on games like that, which is cool. I'm not probably going to play this game unless it's free on Game Pass. I might try it out then, but other than that, you guys let me know down in the comments if you guys are going to try it out or not. That being said, we're on to the next one. I'm out this bitch. Peace.